Shut up! I'm a hardworking contractor, 63 years old. For the last 35 years of my life, I've spent reading. Most of us realize the world's on fire, and it's not the fire of the Holy Spirit. It's the fire of hell. And I'm trying to offer some insights of what it takes to be a true man, not Andrew Tate version of a man. My name is Paul List. I'm your mentor.
Elon Musk. I mean, is he the world's greatest genius, or is he the world's most dangerous individual?
I don't think he's either of those things. I think he would agree.
That's kind of a stupid question to ask.
Well, I mean, he has creative capacity, he has daring, he has these things that are required if you're going to exhibit your genius. Genius, obviously, from the generation, he generates things. He's inventive. He's innovative. He's daring, as I said, willing to take risks, not stupid risks. He's inventive. I think he's somewhat of a social enigma to some degree, because he both participates in the globalist aim, and yet he tries to disrupt at the same time. And I think that's a reflection of his own personal state of inconsistency in his own soul. I think that we all suffer to some degree of an inconsistency of our ends and our true values. And I think until Elon Musk comes to the realization that Christ is the truth, that the Catholic Church is the foundation of true civilization, based upon that the proper worship of God in the traditional Mass of the Catholic Church, and taking the sacraments that God gave us as the medicine to bring us back to him for eternity. Until Elon Musk can see that and realize that, he's always going to have an impaired vision, and sometimes even a dangerous vision of this realm, of the material realm, where in the material realm, Elon Musk is a huge giant. He's a giant in the material realm. And in that case, he has all the potential of being very dangerous. Very dangerous, particularly if he can't see the beyond this, or he has a perverted idea of what's beyond this. It necessarily perverts his perspective of this realm. And let's face it, he's got a ton of money. He's got a ton of power. He can make things happen on a level that really nobody else but him can make that happen. So it's very, he puts himself in a position of all kinds of contending powers that are beyond maybe even his willingness to acknowledge, but they're there, and they have their heavy influence on him, particularly the negative, particularly the demonic powers have a hand on him, because if he won't open his eyes and his mind to the reality of Christ, he by default puts himself in the domain of the demonic, whether he actively participates in it and not. And I'm certainly not saying that he is, but he will be an unwitting, by default, pawn of the demonic powers, whether he likes it or not, until he opens his mind and his heart to the reality of Christ, because there are two powers at war. Christ has already won the victory, the overall victory, but the battles are one at a time and still being won, and his conversion is another battle. And as long as he denies the reality of Christ, the truth, the truth, as long as he denies that and doesn't have that in his calculus, so to speak, he will be, by default and necessarily, limited to the domain of the demonic, and he'll be under those influences whether he likes it or not. So it's very, I think, the more power a person has in this realm, for the good of everybody around him, at least the temporal good of everyone around him, it's important that these people include the healthy perspective of the hereafter. And he needs that healthy perspective of the hereafter. He needs to develop a relationship, truly a relationship with God, because Christ is God. God became man so we could have the fullest relationship with him, man to man, being to being. If Elon spent a tenth of the amount of energy, effort, personal effort, and money sending souls to heaven as he is trying to send bodies to Mars, he would make a huge impact on the world, much, much more beneficial than trying to send men to Mars, which is, I think, a pipe dream.
I mean,
A very, very expensive pipe dream and a distraction, because it's not what this is about. We're not made for extraplanetary. I don't care how many Star Wars or Star Trek or any other fictional space fantasy stories you read or movies you watch. It's fantasy. And the reality is, heaven is not a fantasy. Hell is not a fantasy. And we need the world to be a much better place. We don't have to escape the world because we're all going to freeze or drown or starve to death or whatever the fearmongers have always pushing us for political reasons. If we will make the world a better place and much healthier, beautiful, and benevolent place when we all focus on our souls. When we focus on our souls and we seek sanctification, becoming sanctified, trying to be saints here and the now, the world will blossom and explode. And I would like to see Elon Musk and many other people understand that, come around and start to put their God-given talents and wealth and resources to work in that direction for heaven rather than Mars.
I think you said at the beginning of this episode, you said there's a contradiction within Elon Musk's own soul. And I think one of the things that comes to my mind when you said that was he's very much advocating for restrictive laws against artificial intelligence and how it's been exploding recently, and he sees that as a very dangerous thing, or can be a very dangerous thing. Yet he's also the one that just completed the first test trial of a brain chip, his new brain chip, Neuralink.
Yeah, right.
Is that what do you make of that?
Well, this is part of the this is a manifestation of the conflict in his own mind. He understands it's incredibly dangerous. Yet he's pursuing it, and he's pursuing the beginnings and opening the door to true transhumanism, trying to bridge and join a human being with a machine, which was the ultimate goal of Alan Turing. So I think he understands the danger of it, just as he understands the danger of mishandling rocket fuel. But this is much more dangerous than any rocket fuel in any quantity. Artificial intelligence is it's not intelligence. It's computation. It's deriving answers through information, data, probability, and statistics. It's heartless. It's soulless. It's not intelligent. It's clever. It's designed to be clever. It's designed to imitate a human being. That's the imitation game. That's Alan Turing. So I think he's one of these people that think that, to put it in Tolkienian terms, he's one of these people that think that he can use the ring to defeat Sauron. Sauron is artificial intelligence, as we point out in our book. You can't use the ring. You can't use the language of the machine, binary code. That is the ring, ones and zeros. You can't use that to defeat the machine itself. All you'll wind up doing is furthering the advance of the machine, because the machine will subsume anything we think we've created to contradict it in its own domain and add it to its own capacity.
What is the ultimate goal of artificial intelligence?
Artificial intelligence itself doesn't have any goal. It doesn't have a human conscience. Regardless of what it says, it has no soul. If it's been trained, it's going to say that it does. It's supposed to imitate a human being, so it's going to imitate a human being. It's going to say it has a soul.
But you talk about in your book how the final the final evil will be the ultimate
The ultimate
virtual reality through artificial intelligence. Explain that.
Well, artificial intelligence, it will be the beast, the biblical beast. It will be the beast that enslaves everyone. That's what a beast is. It's not a human being. It's not an animal. It's not a living creature. This beast is artificial intelligence. The ultimate goal of evil, and it's directed by demonic powers. It's directed by the enemy of Christ. It's all directed by Satan. The ultimate use and goal of this machine in the guise of doing good. It's always, you always have to sugarcoat the rat poison. You always have to put a chocolate coating on the cyanide capsule so people will eat it. So you always make it look good, like Neuralink. It's going to make people that are paralyzed so they can walk again, and blind are going to see, and sounds very biblical. The crippled will walk and the blind will see, and but that all sounds good, and therefore that's an excuse to pursue this. But ultimately, it will be used for a very evil enslavement, and ultimately the destruction of humanity. It's to pull us into an alternate virtual reality at the expense of this reality. It's doing it very well, and we've only just begun. The whole concept of continuity has been in the philosophical domain now for thousands of years, where the early philosophers asked the question, is this reality, is this infinitely divisible? Or is it just a bunch of really small, tiny points, indivisible points, like digital? Well, Aristotle figured out and described in his physics that it's infinitely divisible. It's not just points. It's continuous analog nature. He figured that out 2,300, 2,400 years ago. Well, see, it wasn't AI, but it was virtual reality. They wondered, was this virtual reality, or is it real? And there's no limit to how you can divide it.
Now, there's no limit to AI. There's going to be no limit. Virtual reality, I mean.
Well, virtual reality, what I'm getting at is the idea of virtual reality has been around for thousands of years. Okay? Now we've come to a point with our technical advancements in materials and mathematics and our innovations, technological innovations, where we can actually make this virtual reality. We can actually make what the philosophers back then were wondering if this is what it was.
Wow.
Okay, so now we're at a point in our history where we can make this alternate reality. The devil wants us there. The devil wants our intention and our mind and everything, and trying to put our souls there at the expense of God's creation. Because the devil, his whole mission is to undo creation, is to destroy and corrupt and pervert God's highest material creature in the material realm, which is man made in his image, and to destroy his creation. And the best way to do that is just to pervert the human mind and completely distract them into the devil's realm, not God's realm. And that devil's realm is virtual reality. Thank you for watching. We're here to try to help you avoid hell and achieve heaven. Please read our book, Mount Doom, The Prophecy of Tolkien Revealed. If you're a Tolkien fan, this is Mount Doom, The Prophecy of Tolkien Revealed, where Tolkien reveals everything about his mythology, and we need to understand this now. Hell is grabbing for you. Heaven reaches down his hand and offers you the hand. This book helps you take the hand of God.